You are not lazy. You are not a failure. And your messy room is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something has been overwhelming you for a very long time. And today, psychology is finally going to explain why. There is a specific moment every messy person knows. You walk into your room, you look around, and instead of cleaning, you just stand there frozen, not because you don't care, not because you are giving up, but because something inside your brain simply refuses to start. Most people will call that laziness. Science calls it something completely different. And by the end of this video, you will never shame yourself for a messy room again. The real picture, let's paint the actual picture first. There is a chair in your bedroom. It stopped being a chair months ago. Now it is a mountain of clothes with no destination. There is mail on the kitchen counter, unopened. Growing. Spreading, there are shoes abandoned halfway down the hallway like someone simply stopped. Objects pushed to the edges of every surface, not placed, just deposited. Society looks at this and sees one thing, a person who doesn't try. But psychology looks at this and sees something completely different, a mind that is drowning. The science of clutter here is what researchers actually found when they studied messy homes. Women who described their living spaces as cluttered had measurably elevated cortisol levels, cortisol. The stress hormone. Your body is not relaxed in a messy space. Your nervous system is scanning that environment every single second. It registers the chaos. It perceives it as a persistent low-grade threat, and it keeps your system locked in a quiet state of stress all day, every day. So here is the cruel paradox nobody talks about. The mess creates stress. The stress creates exhaustion. The exhaustion makes it impossible to clean the mess. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are stuck inside a biological loop. Executive dysfunction. Now let me give you the real psychological term for what most messy people experience. Executive dysfunction. Executive functions are the cognitive skills that allow you to plan a task, start a task, follow through to completion. When these systems are impaired, even the simplest action becomes a mountain. And this is especially common in people with ADHD. Here is what cleaning actually looks like inside an ADHD brain. You pick up a shirt, you carry it toward the closet. You notice a book on the floor along the way. That book belongs in the living room. You take the book to the living room, you find a dirty mug on the table. Now you are in the kitchen washing dishes, still holding the shirt, still holding the socks you picked up somewhere between the hallway and the sink. This is not a character flaw. This is working memory failing in real time. Every object in the room is screaming for attention at the exact same volume. The brain cannot prioritize, so the brain does the only thing it can. It shuts down. And the pile grows another layer deeper. Depression and the weight then. There is depression. And depression deserves its own conversation. Because depression does not just make you sad, it makes everything heavy. Washing a single dish feels like lifting something too large to move. Folding a towel takes an effort you simply do not have. Sorting through mail. Completely out of the question. And researchers have confirmed what every depressed person already knows instinctively. Cluttered spaces worsen depressive symptoms. The mess becomes a physical mirror of your internal state. You look at the pile on the floor, and the pile confirms the darkest thought you are already thinking. I am failing at my own life. The environment does not just reflect depression, it feeds it, and the cycle tightens, the decision paralysis. But there is another reason nobody ever talks about, and it has nothing to do with energy levels. It is the terror of making a decision, because clutter is not just mess. Every single item in that pile is an unmade choice. This piece of paper. Keep it or throw it. This sweater you haven't worn in 2 years. Donate it or hold on to it. This ticket stub from a night that mattered. Does it deserve to stay? For people who struggle with decisional procrastination, these questions are not simple. They are paralyzing, and researchers confirmed it directly. Indecisive people experience significantly greater negative impact from clutter than decisive ones. So they do the only thing that feels safe. They set the item down. They promise themselves they will decide later, and later never comes. The pile is not laziness. The pile is postponed decisions stacked on top of each other. One-eye nagging makes it worse. Here is something critical that every partner, parent, and roommate needs to hear. Shaming someone about their mess does not work. It makes it worse. Every single time, there is a psychological principle called reactance. When human beings feel their autonomy is being threatened, they instinctively resist. Even if they agree with what they are being told to do, even if they wanted to do it themselves, the moment it becomes a demand from someone else, something inside them digs in. And the room stays messy as an act of psychological self-protection. The research backs this up. Cleaning that is externally imposed, driven by shame or pressure, is never sustained. But when someone internalizes the value of a tidy space for themselves, when it becomes their choice, their autonomy, their standard, that is when things actually change. You cannot shame someone into a clean room. You can only help them find their own reason to want one. Dead children no one talks about. And if you think this only affects the adults living in the space, science has a hard truth. Children growing up in chronically chaotic homes show measurable differences: harder time controlling impulses, difficulty shifting focus between tasks, reduced short-term memory, lower academic performance, harder time managing emotions and friendships. The physical space a child grows up in shapes how their brain develops. This is not about perfect homes. This is about what persistent, unmanaged chaos does to a developing nervous system over time. The environment matters. For everyone inside it, the unexpected flip signal here is something that will surprise you. Messy environments are not always the villain. Researchers ran an experiment. 2 groups. One worked in a tidy room. One worked in a messy room. The group in the messy room consistently generated more creative ideas. They chose more novel options. Their thinking broke conventional patterns more freely, because sometimes disorder signals the brain that the rules don't apply here. Sometimes the mess frees something. A chronically messy home that causes distress is one thing. A creatively chaotic workspace that fuels you is another. Context matters, and so does your relationship with the space. The hope so here is where science leaves you with something powerful. Researchers found that cleaning after a stressful event, even simulated cleaning, reduces anxiety. It improves your physical stress response. It restores a sense of control when everything else feels out of your hands. The physical act of tidying is not just housekeeping. It is a psychological reset. It tells your nervous system that you are not completely powerless, that you can affect your environment, that something, even something small, can be different because of you. The closo, if you never clean your house, hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not a failure. You are not lazy. Your mess is a symptom. It is the physical evidence of an overwhelmed mind, a taxed working memory, a depleted emotional reserve that has been running on empty for longer than anyone around you realizes. And you do not clean to become a better person. A clean house does not make you more worthy. You clean to reclaim your space, to quiet your nervous system, to give yourself one small corner of the world that feels manageable again. Start with one decision today. Just one, not the whole room. One thing. And then forgive yourself for every pile you haven't touched yet. It kept you safe when you were too exhausted to function. But you are still here. And when you are ready, your space will be ready too. If this video described something you have never had words for before, you are not alone. Subscribe for more psychology that explains the quiet struggles most people never talk about.